PSG and DJ Sam, and they're going to take us through all of the community discussions and everything else. And we're going to have some really heated debates about a range of topics, including land, apparently. So that's going to be really interesting. How's it going today, guys?
I'm good. This is 3 weeks in a row, I want to say. So, again, thank you for having me. And TSG.
Yeah, I'm good, man. Excited. I feel like there's been a lot of conversations in the community right now. I think we're going to have a pretty fun time covering it all. By the way, Scoriox, are you sure you're live on YouTube? I'm refreshing it. It ain't running.
Should be okay.
Yeah, it is. I'm wrong. I apologize, guys.
I'm not going to mess it up 2 weeks in a row.
Nah, you never know.
Oh, I totally would, though. Okay, so let's jump into it. Let's get to our news of the weeks. A little bit happened this week. So first up, we've got the Illuvium 0 patch 1.0.4 fuel economy update. We don't even need to click into it to see what happened, where land plot fuel output has been decreased by 4 times to 25% of the previous value. Converters are now 100% instead of 110%, I believe they were at maximum efficiency. And a bunch of things have been rebalanced and reduced across the board to help match up with that decrease by 4 times. We'll get more into that later on in the episode. The next one is Epoch 10 governance elections. Currently, the Community Council nomination is ongoing. And in about a week from now, we will actually have the voting period for the Illuvium Community Council. Let me just quickly go and have a look at the nominees.
Amazing.
Just to confirm, you don't get paid for this one, right? From Illuvium.
Yes, you do.
I think you do. It's just a lot less. I think it's like half or something.
It's about 3 times less.
Yeah.
Okay. It's $1,500 USD a month, whereas IMC is 5,000.
Damn.
So
IMC is 5? What, are we just giving money away for free?
Sorry, I thought everyone was across that. I thought that wouldn't come across as some sort of weird.
We need to talk about this.
I didn't realize it was 5. That's mad.
Sorry.
All right, let's go over these nominees first. After we get through the announcements, we can talk about it if you need. So we've got a Roasted Reptar, Fight for ETH, who used to be on the marketing sub-council. Roasted Reptar, someone looks like they nominated him. So if you read through these things, it's actually really funny. Like, if you look at this third one here, see above, I don't want to, wait. So it's great question for Reptar, because it doesn't look like Reptar actually nominated himself for this one. He's the guild leader or one of the guild organizers for the Alpha Origins group. He's actually a really great guy. Illumination putting his hat in the ring again. He's on the current ICC.
He's made it clear as well. I don't know if you guys watched the. I know Sam probably does the rundown with Najif. Yes. Illumination has made it clear that if he gets into ICC, he's going to put his name in the hat for IMC next run as well.
That's in 9 months, right?
Yeah.
I'll be dead by then.
So next we've got Hackett, then we've got Patat, who also put his name in the ring before IMC. So good luck to him as well, of course. Philo, which is very active in governance discussion in the Illuvium Discord. So glad to see him putting himself forward. Nasty, also quite active, a little bit more behind the scenes though. Ligaron, quite active in governance as well. Love to see that. Mission Pool on the current ICC. Dr. Spoon, very active, also went for IMC. And I don't know who Naira is, but he's a 90s kids from India, and he loves playing games and things like that. So there's some really great stuff here. The next announcement we've got here is the Overworld and Arena backend patch. There was a backend patch fixing a bunch of things. I heard about the Error 500 code preventing a lot of players from flat out playing the game. And from what I've heard from those players, it looks like it's fixed for them. So really, it's these sorts of things that really do fly under the radar, but this is a really big win for Illuvium, so we'd love to see that.
And part of that...
We're talk about this $5,000 thing. I feel like...
One second. And the last thing we've got is that Richard said we've noticed an uptick in the number of bots farming airdrop points, which has been causing issues with minting. To address this, we will be banning the account of players running these types, and people using VPNs may experience issues. And things are just slowly minting. So you might have some issues. I think all of the minting issues are resolved now, or more or less. I know that I had a little bit of that while this was happening, and now it's perfectly fine for me. So there's a lot of that. So Okay, Sam, talk to me.
Okay, first of all, when has it been $5,000 for an? Okay, let me give some points here. IMC is not a full week job. Is that correct? It's not a 40-hour week, is it?
It can be, but I don't think anyone is making it be.
Do you want
I mean,
me?
you can do things to make it so, but I don't think anyone is
I
treating it as
highly
such.
doubt
Do you want
anyone
me
in
to
IMC is working 40 hours
Yeah.
a week and earning $5,000 for the month. Please, Scoriox, go ahead. I will listen.
And Scoriox is actually, I
He's
agree, it
on
should
the
be
no
reduced.
wonder everyone wants to be on the IMC. I've just realized this.
Yeah,
They're all
it's a
making-
payday.
Okay.
It's a payday.
I'm gonna come from because the pay for the IMC has been a discussion that's been around. This is my fourth epoch. This epoch.
Right.
So I've been around for all of these chats for a very long time. I was actually on the IMC my first epoch, which was back in 2021, I think. Anyways, before my very first epoch, it was 5,000 a month. For my epoch, everyone unanimously agreed that they don't deserve that much money and all that sort of stuff. So when I first was on the IMC, it was reduced to 3,750. Now, everyone can make their own judgment about whether that's not enough or it needs to go lower or whatever. Anyways, then for the epoch with all the sub councils and things like that, it was actually 3,000 for the IMC for that epoch. And then the epoch after, which was the epoch just before this one, it got brought back up to 5,000 for a very specific reason. And that was because of all the VARA and the incorporation in Dubai and stuff like that. The idea was that everyone on the IMC or on the council is taking on this certain level of liability and that sort of stuff where they're at risk of litigation and things like that because they're on the IMC for $1 billion company and all that sort of thing. And because they were trying to get VARA and that had a certain amount of cost and sort of liability and stuff to do with it, they increased how much it would cost. The VARA stuff has not been put through yet, and maybe not. Maybe it won't ever. I don't know. But that is why we're at the 5,000 today. It's not so much 5,000 USD. It's for the work they do, partially, of course. But it's not so much 5,000 USD for the 40-hour week or anything like that. But it's more about their position and the sorts of responsibilities and the legal stuff that kind of comes with all of that.
Comes with it.
Yeah, it's all that. Finally, that's the word I was looking for. It's all the risk that comes with it that's supposed to justify that pay thing. I definitely think it should be decreased. But yeah,
the way, Sam, before you go into it, this is what I propose. Let me know what you think. I think putting it back down to like 3,750 or whatever that whatever number is more reasonable, but then setting KPIs. If they're able to achieve this KPI, whatever that is agreed upon, they can get that bonus on top of it. But I don't think flat 5.
What KPI could they hit though?
I don't know, right? And that's what the discussion would be. And I think that way you're covering both angles, where it's not just a flat thing. But if they do prove effective, they're eligible for something like that. What those KPIs are, I'm unsure of. I haven't put that much thought into it. But yeah. I'm on the team. Maybe I shouldn't be having this vocal a thought. But yeah, 5,000 is.
My opinion is this, and then we can move on. I apologize for hijacking against Scoriox, but I tend to do this a lot. It makes no sense to me personally to pay someone $5,000, and there's 4 of them, if or not, or 5 of people of this amount.
4.
That is throwing money away, in my opinion. I don't think the risk is worth that much. I think it should be around that 3 to 4K max. I understand the points of risk and litigation and everything like that, but it just doesn't make sense to me because it's not a full-time job. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's throwing money against the wall to waste, in my opinion. Anyone can disagree with me, but I don't see it.
Let us know in chat if you agree or disagree. Let's get that conversation going.
Crazy to me.
It is worth mentioning that Governance V3 has much better systems for this sort of discussion than there was beforehand. I believe it had to go just quickly before it. I believe it actually had to go through the IMC, so that would almost like approve or deny their own pay reduction. But now the ICC and the IMC actually have a 10-person vote on these sorts of topics. So if it did go to vote, all 10 members of the councils would actually vote on it.
Yeah, but they're not gonna vote on reducing their own salary.
Yeah.
That's just insane.
Well, they did the first time they reduced it, and the second time they reduced it.
I think first of all, it's on the blockchain, right? So we could literally see which people are on the IMC selling these tokens, and I'd be massively intrigued to find out what's going on with that. At least lock up the tokens for 6 months or something like that, because if these people really do care about the game on the IMC, which they probably do, I assume, and knowing at the price point, they should either be holding it for long-term play because they care about the product, and if people are selling it, I get it, it's their money in a way, but it just shows you that they're in it for the money, probably more so than what it is than staking in protocol. So again,
yeah, we've had some level of we had some conversation about the whole staking thing in the past as well, and I absolutely think a majority of it, if not all of it, needs to be staked and vested for a certain period of time.
12 months, all of it.
The issue we
hadn't
hadn't done that in the past is the team was like, oh no, we don't have the time to build out that smart contract and things like that. And then we were like, oh, what if we just all do like an honor system and people can see on chain if we did or didn't stake it and stuff like that. But I am actually not sure why that didn't go ahead when that was first being brought up. That was more internal. IMC. I don't think the public really discussed that one specifically.
Mr. IMC, bring that up again.
Yeah, 100% bring that up.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to leaks and highlights.
I love it. Yo, Scoriox hasn't even joined IMC. We're trying to cut a salary already.
Oh, okay. All right. So the one here is that I asked for Gauntlet and with cosmetics based battle pass would increase the player base and things like that. I said that would be a great idea. And Rich said, wait till you see what's coming next week. So Gauntlet, battle pass, seasonal rewards, they're all coming next week. Rich said it right there. I made a tweet. People loved it. It was very funny. Okay, let's move on.
Hang on. What is coming? Does anyone know? Or is everyone just speculating?
Well,
is Rich here? Is Rich awake? Probably not.
No. He's LA. Yeah, in terms of the battle pass and stuff, look, that's not. I wouldn't put all your money on that. But there are things that are coming in terms of, and there will be some news about that in the next couple of days regarding some overhaul to Gauntlet. I think that what we have in the pipeline is a nice shift to Gauntlet. There's a bunch of things coming in the next couple of weeks, months. And I think we've mentioned this previously, but we've expanded the marketing team. There's a lot more structure to it now, a lot more planning with it. So I think what I would say is, without going too deep into it, is just be prepared for a lot more coming out in a more structured way. And I think the community is, I think what the community wants and what Illuvium, the marketing team, is going to deliver is probably going to be the most aligned than it's ever been. So I would just say, yeah, look forward to that. And in terms of next week, it's I wouldn't overhype it, but it is something to be very, very excited for. But so it's not like, oh my God,
The team likes the idea of the battle pass idea, but probably further down the line by the sounds of it. I think the team is very aware of this just because so the community knows. And it's a cool idea whenever and however they implement that. So it's not that's coming next week, but it's something else. And obviously the team's coming back from holidays. Probably most people will be back now or soonish, I would say.
Yeah. So everything is starting to run, I'd say, close to full speed again.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah.
I think given Kieran, Taran, and Rich played like an internal build of Gauntlet the other day.
Did they?
I definitely think some sort of
Gauntlet, much better, bro.
Really?
I think some sort of Gauntlet update is coming next week. Whether it be mostly balance fixes, a handful of quality of life. I don't know if it's going to include a ranked ladder, but it's going to have some level of improvement. I think that's what's coming.
We know the Ranger gets put in there eventually, right, at some point, and everything else they want to add. So that's exciting.
There's a lot. There's a lot of, and something that I think, Sam, you're going to be pretty happy with this as well. Something that
overall combat.
Something that we really want to focus on is, I think in the past we've grouped a bunch of features together in releases, and I think what that does is it means that there's a bunch of features and everyone's excited for it in 1 week, and then we have 3 weeks of quietness. And I think so when we talk about patches, quality of life, Ranger in there, ranked, I think spreading out those features, so 1 week we do one thing, the next week we do
100%.
something, it just constantly has something to look forward to.
Yes.
So I would say, yeah, that's why I say I think the community is going to be very, very happy with what the marketing team is going to start doing moving forward. I think it's going to be much more aligned with what the community wants, which is I'm very, very pleased about.
If I see that coming over the coming weeks when they start implementing this, obviously the marketing team just got hired. They're probably planning a bunch of things behind the scenes. But once I start seeing there's this leak, then there's this build up, and then they're doing a proper marketing schedule, and I'll be just, as an investor and I guess a player as well, it just puts my mind at ease going, okay, they're on the right path.
Yeah.
They are doing the marketing properly from my perspective. And I think it'll be just, put my mind at ease, I think.
Yeah. No, we had a very, and Kieran's mentioned this multiple times in AMAs, but we've been running off a very lean marketing team in the past. We've had...
Which is fair though, right? Which is fair because there was nothing to market.
Yeah.
And even now, like, it's still the base product and still needs a bit more work, but it's getting so close to that moment where it's like, okay, it's go time.
It's starting to fine tune the systems and the pipeline and things like that. Absolutely, yeah. So, yeah, just give it a little bit of time, and I say a little bit, meaning a little bit for the new guys to kind of get fully caught up with the product, caught up with the systems that we have behind the scenes. Just let them get onboarded. But once they are onboarded, I can almost promise you, I know where some of these guys have worked in the past. They're killers.
Are you allowed to say where they have worked in the past at all, by any chance, or no?
I don't think it'd be an issue, but they've worked at places like Activision, worked for titles such as Call of Duty.
There we go.
Yeah. There's a couple of others I've forgotten off the top of my head, but it's all along that kind of tier of company and tier of experience. So it's very, like I said, they're absolute killers, and it's really good to see how we're kind of mixing up from where we are now and what they bring. And I think there's some real damage that can really be done.
I have noticed that Illuvium, from their learnings early days, they only hire seniors now. I remember Kieran saying that in many podcasts throughout the whole years. So it's good to see that you're hiring marketing people from Activision or these sort of places, because they know they've been through the ring before. They know what these sort of games need. So if that is whatever the statute of expectations are, I think wow, I'm super happy about that. That makes me feel very confident in the marketing team.
Yeah. Like I said, give it a little bit, give it a week or two when everyone gets set up, and once the ball gets rolling, it's really going to start snowballing quickly.
Otherwise, I'm going to knock on the door in Sydney, even though there's no office, and do it myself.
Kieran's still got a door.
Now, I have a question. So I heard chatter about something like a new head of marketing got hired.
Yes.
I thought Kieran was the head of marketing.
He's not marketing though, is he?
Kieran was CEO/CEO. And now he's able to focus on his CEO role, and we have someone dedicated to that head of marketing.
Right.
So Kieran will obviously still have a voice in marketing, but we will have someone that's dedicated to marketing full time, which is absolutely what we need.
Salary based, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Sweet. All right. So we got this leak from Gamescom. Anyone who's visiting Gamescom is getting some sort of code, and they're getting this brand new emote inside the game. He's so cute. He has like an Illuvium energy drink. Are you guys seeing that?
Yes.
Yeah. Is this? Can we see how many people are using this code? Like how many people have added it in, or is that a back end thing, not a blockchain?
We will be able to see that on the back end in terms of like the general community. I don't know, but I guess they would be able to see how many of these are minted, right?
Yeah.
That's a good thing for me to check
Cool.
on.
Great emote. If Dimitri's here or Roger, phenomenal. I don't know how much time and effort goes into these, but it just looks really cool. I hope it's just worth the time and effort that they put into it. That people appreciate.
I don't think it was either Dimitri or Roger, but definitely the other team.
Well, then they need to do better. Okay.
All right. So the next one we've got is the one thing Aaron has also mentioned here is that they have a new head of economy starting and a new lead designer for Zero. So he's hesitant to make sweeping changes to game economy and all the rest of it before they review all of the data that's currently on hand. So there's two other employees that have just started at Illuvium. So we'd like to see that they're filling in the gaps where they need to.
I thought we had 4 economists. I remember that in a podcast. We had 4 economists.
I think they're external. I think they were third parties that were consulted. I don't
Okay,
know
okay.
if we actually ever had any economists inside the team.
I think it's not someone that I communicate with, but I think we have had. But yeah, I think that the team's expanding there as well.
Okay, but didn't they just do a big change to Illuvium 0 recently?
Yeah, you know, he's talking about a change after that change,
Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough.
which is what all the discussions are regarding.
Mhm.
Okay, so the next one here is Aaron made a really big long spiel here about how the compounding is from the plots themselves, and he doesn't really think it has anything to do with the ratio. A ratio of 100 to 0 will still compound as more and more plots come online and build up to their late stages in the game. The other thing is that they need to address the mismatch in demand and supply, and it has been discussed a lot internally and stuff like that. And he's been tinkering with the thought of actually decoupling the two systems, which might have the chance at making everybody happy. Right now, it's a little bit hard to get there, but the idea would be that Illuvium Zero fuel selling will be completely decoupled from fuel prices on the front end in one way or another, or at least be decoupled in a more literal sense. And so they'll be kind of like loosely tied together. So fuel sales will impact the economy, but not so directly it is right now, where selling fuel directly on the market is directly bought on the market and that sort of stuff. So there is a lot of things that Aaron's been discussing in these discussions, and we'll go over them in a little bit more detail soon.
I just want to say before you get into Roger's artwork, with fuel and the players selling fuel and the economy and everything, it needs to be done like this. This is my opinion again. I have to say that. All it has to be is if I have Illuvium 0 land, if I want to put that into my overworld account, it should be very simple, not complicated, and that should be able to fund my runs, whether it's a small run or lots of runs. It doesn't matter. It just needs to be such a simple process. It's like the internet back in 2000s. We don't care it's HTTPS or anything like that, right? So I don't care how all the backend works or the economy works from a player's perspective. It needs to be, I have fuel, I want to use it in the overworld, easy, done, simple. Now, same thing with selling it. I still don't get this bonus fuel thing. I don't know enough about it, so I probably can't say, a good opinion on it. But it needs to be very simple, very easy. I sell the fuel for this price. If it fluctuates a little bit, sure, that as long as it's shown on the UI. I do not understand, and maybe you guys can, educate me here. Why is this so complicated when it should be just a very simple thing?
I put my hands up, man. I'm not too sure about that. In terms of the first, let me address the first part of that. The first part is coming and should be pretty simple. As for the second part,
you should be able to. If I have a land, I should be able to just go in the overworld. I did 5 Solon in my land. I now have whatever Solon in my overworld run. Very easy to understand, simplified. As from what you just said, it's coming anyway. But in regards to the economy stuff, Scoriox, can you educate me and maybe some of the viewers here?
Well, the problem is that you need a buyer for the fuel. You can't really circumvent that. So if you want to transfer one Solon to your crypto wallet or to your passport properly, then you need someone to buy that Krypton from you, because it has to go through the mechanism. Otherwise, you start to circumvent the 19 to 1. And essentially, instead of 5% of landowners making 5% of revenue, they have the opportunity to circumvent it and make 100% of revenue. But the problem with all of that is when this kind of web of mess gets created in the middle here, it becomes way more complicated for you to just send Solon to your wallet. With high demand, technically it can be seamless pretty much always, but if demand is not high enough, it will never actually be seamless. And so, but that's just where it gets really, really messy. And so that's where a lot of this discussion is coming from, is maybe we need to rework how these systems work so that like that is possible. And so it's quite confusing, but the problem is that landowners only earn 5% of revenue. You've got to keep that intact. Otherwise things start to get a bit weird. And kind of broken. That's all.
From my understanding, the back end is probably a complicated process. Like whether it's 19 to 1, 5% of this, the user won't give a shit about this, to be honest with you. It should be just whether there's an order book or however the process is done, they need to figure that out on the back end to make the user experience super simple. That needs to be a high priority.
There is one really easy way to do it, but it only has one caveat. So the way you do it is, if I want to send 10 Sol to my 10 Solon, sorry, to
Mhm.
my passport,
Mhm.
then on the back end, you don't see any of this, but on the back end, I'm selling 10 Solon, a buyer is buying it, and then I'm using that Ethereum to buy back 10
That's
Solon,
stupid.
and
That's
then I'm getting the 10 Solon on my wallet. I'm just saying that's all in the back end. You don't see that.
yeah, but even that's
Technically,
silly though, right? Why can't I understand it? If I have Solon on my land, if I have 10 Solon, I want to put it to fund my overworld experience, I get 10 Solon on the other end. Or if it's the 19-to-1 situation, then just add times 20 if that's the process. Why do we have to buy, sell, and this and that? I don't understand.
well, what you're saying is not times 20, it's divide by 20.
Sorry,
And
divided by
so
20.
you would, if you set minimums, then sure, that might be possible as well, like a minimum of 200, and then you can send it. But that's not necessarily a better experience in itself. And so it's just kind of like messed up all the way. Some of those discussions I was going to get to a bit later about things like one-to-one fuel, where fuel is 100% of the economy, but the DAO takes a 5% tax, which would actually solve a lot of the problems there as well, and make the
That
game
sounds
easier
way
and better
better
to play
already.
as well. So yeah, so those sorts of things are being explored quite a lot. It's actually quite funny. I don't know if funny is the right word, but a lot of people in the community are actually waiting for the new IMC to start before putting these proposals through.
Yeah, that's well. In all seriousness, something needs to be done then, and just to sum it all up, it needs to be super simple for a user, like ridiculously stupid simple.
Yeah.
Simple and sweet is the goal here.
Okay, so onto this leak, another Tiger Boreal leak. I'm actually really keen for Tiger. I just want a new place to explore. I know that that's like a bit much to ask, but still, I'm very, very excited. I hope like with your whole marketing pipeline, you're talking about TSG, like we have like things like Gauntlet, Gauntlet Leviathan, and then Ranked Gauntlet, and then Overworld Combat, and then I hope we get like Tiger Boreal at some point this year. And then like a month or two, hopefully just like a month after that, we get like Halcyon Sea. That would be awesome.
This is look, I care more about the features than a new region. This is just me personally now. What I would do is I would wait until Tiger and Halcyon were both 100% complete and ready. I wouldn't drop Tiger until that was the case and we had that in the backlog. We have 2 regions complete, and then put it out where there is a short time frame between this and then Halcyon Sea. I wouldn't want to drop this and then wait 2 months and then go Halcyon Sea. Even if this was ready, I'd focus on the actual features, the gameplay features, and keep that in the backlog to make sure that it's closer to Halcyon Sea. So we could have a season of regions or something like that, where a month, where you come out with one for 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and then come out with another. That's how I personally would approach it. But yeah, let me know. You guys let me know, and then chat. Let me know if that you agree or disagree with that.
If Tiger Boreal is ready, do not release it anytime soon, please, Illuvium. Thank you. Love
My
Sam.
thoughts. My thoughts too.
As much as we want it, like I think it's going to be one of the best regions. To be fair, it's just not smart from a marketing standpoint, and it's just shouldn't be a priority right now. Like even if we added 1 region, 2 region, it's not going to change the game and all the problems. Just wait till January or something. It doesn't even matter.
I was gonna say December, but yeah.
Yeah, whenever that is, whenever it's time and you're ready, put it in your back pocket and just save it up for a rainy day. And then when you do release it to the public and everyone plays it, whenever that hype starts to die down, whether that's 1 week, which I doubt, I think it's going to be more like several weeks, if not over a month, then look at doing it at the other region if it's ready. But there's no urgency to do this compared to what everything else is.
Features, exactly. Features is priority number 1. And like you say, I think my expectation, my assumption here is that the hype for a new region will last 2.5 weeks. So I think 3 weeks of this, and then we go out for the next. A month is asking for a lot from TikTok.
The TikTok generation. Yeah, well,
TikTok generation. A month is crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how people feel. But sorry to burst the bubble on Scoriox. Is like,
Scoriox is like, yo, we need it today.
No,
nah, bro.
No. Sorry.
So funny.
So Remaster in the chat, the regions are supposed to get more and more interesting, like more lore and feature reveals as they come out. Do you think we would get do you know, Taryn, if we would get like some sort of cinematic thing to come alongside Tiger when it eventually comes out in like 3 years? You guys are so mean.
It could be a thing. Like, I don't know if you guys saw, probably none of you guys care about it, but there's a new Harry Potter game that's coming out called Quidditch Champions. But no, their marketing. The reason I bring it up is their marketing is quite good, and they've come out with a trailer of like, oh, these are the Quidditch pitches that you guys can play on. So Dimitri says no. I think there could be something, nothing like super cinematic, but I would like to see some kind of visual stuff there.
It's a budget thing though, right? It'll be money, it's time, it's effort.
When we say cinematic, I wouldn't want to see it like the cinematic trailer. Like that's just that's way too much for a reason.
How long does a cinematic trailer of 1 minute, 2 minute take, and how much effort?
A long time.
It does.
Long time. It takes a long time.
Okay. To do it well, like
because there's
like your Skyrim cutscene and like your cinematic trailer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I fucking love Dimitri, man. No, just no. But can we please? No.
Okay, so I don't know how familiar you guys are with this topic, so we're going to probably going to end up being a little bit short, but the topic of the week I had was actually just the Illuvium Zero update. So for anyone who's not across it, fuel production across all Illuvium Zero plots was reduced by 4 times, as we covered in some of our news earlier on in the episode. And the other piece of context that I should probably provide is Scrubs has actually filled us in a little bit about what happened at the IMC regarding all of this. So apparently the labs came to the IMC and told them about the situation, told them that they think that maybe they should reduce the supply reduce the production of Illuvium Zero land. The IMC was like, yes, we agree. That sounds like a good idea. Labs then went and actually decided on the amount to do a buy and all the rest of it, and then implemented that patch. My biggest thing here is, personally, I think they should have asked the IMC again once they had the numbers figured out. But one of the biggest things in the community that people are particularly upset about is they feel blindsided. That's the big one there, is they were playing the game. All of a sudden, their harvester produces like 25% of what it was last, like yesterday or like an hour ago. And people just felt like it was dropped out of nowhere. No one was consulted or asked or whatever, that sort of stuff. It was just, and I think people are up in arms about that in particular, the lack of transparency regarding the entire patch and things like that. And it's just unfortunate. People have pointed out that this was somewhat mentioned in previous IIPs, where the team would need to rebalance things within a few weeks of launch as they figure stuff out. I think everyone kind of expected that as well, but I think they just would have liked more of a heads up.
I don't have too much to add. I'll let you guys discuss this. The changes, I have nothing to add about the changes. I do agree that some messaging would have been good. Make like a 3-day, 72-hour kind of heads up probably would have been ideal. But yeah, that's my stance on it.
My question is, first is, why are we doing this? I think that's what I need to know. What's the why behind this? Why are we decreasing by 75%?
The idea was that demand is a lot lower than what the team expected. So the team kind of has this expectation of where price should sit. That's one way to look at it. Okay. And so they reduced the supply to help meet the demand so that fuel prices didn't continue to drop.
Okay, let's discuss this, right? If you look at an economy, Australia, for example, and remember the whole idea of free economy that Illuvium wanted to run on this. Even if the fuel prices kept going down and down because supply and demand, there's no real demand because, one, we don't have a Leviathan Gauntlet, we don't have leaderboards, there's no reason yet. Obviously, it's a couple of weeks away or thereabouts, could be, who knows. I want to understand that why there was no bottom rail put into the fuel, right? It can keep going down, supply and demand. The fuel prices go down. I think we're at 0.007 or 6 or whatever it is. Why not, let's discuss this. Why not just let it keep going down, lower and lower until land people go, what's the point of me selling this? I'm making no money. And then it will eventually find its own bottom, which is super cheap. And then obviously the alluvials in turn would go down in price. Is this the reason why Illuvium wanted to sort of jump in going, we need to keep it between these prices? They're basically becoming the economy of Australia where they choose how much money's printed, right? Let's be honest. That's the fact.
Yeah. So I'm not speaking for the team here, but I do have one take on this. And that is that we're not the economy of Australia, and we need to consider that this is a game, and there are certain elements of that that's very important. For example, if price keeps dropping indefinitely, people that are playing the game can only play so much. Let's say it takes you 100 stage 3 runs until you've caught every alluvial. and then you kind of stop. If the price goes too low, you can impact the overall revenue of the DAO quite a bit, because there's only a finite amount of gameplay someone can actually get out of the game. You need to acquire more users, which fixes a lot of that. But I understand wanting to adjust it a bit. I definitely think 4 times is way, way too much. It should have been like 20, 30% reduction at most. But there's definitely something to be said about trying to keep the prices still like a relatively in a place that does still make sense. Like at some point, if stage 3 run costs like 20 cents, then the whole thing kind of breaks a little bit. And you also just kill like the alluvial economy as well. But yeah.
Well, yo, Sam, let me just jump in. Sorry, one sec. I agree. I think there is a simple solution. I think the idea of a complete free market was never the right idea. I think that works great in capitalism and in the real world, not in a gaming ecosystem. Okay, so Scoriox is saying a fuel floor doesn't.
No, I disagree. I
think it does.
Landowners get screwed.
I have so much to say.
But I don't think so. I think you have the railings. I think that's, and maybe, I don't know, but I side with that. I also am a landholder, and I would much rather understand the mutual benefits for both the ecosystem, the DAO as a whole. And yes, okay, it might be a little bit of downside for the landholders immediately, but I think in the long term, it makes way more sense for the actual survivability of the entire ecosystem. That it makes complete sense. A floor price, a price ceiling. I think that's the way to go, and we play between that. That's the metagame. I don't think a free market in this situation works. That's where I stand on it. Sam, jump in.
Keep it simple, right? I'm just going to use round numbers because it's so much easier, right? We're going to use $1.50, even though these aren't the numbers, but you can convert it into what Illuvium is.
Yeah.
If Illuvium thinks this is where the prices should sit, $1.50, then let it sit there. Now, if it gets to 50 cents, everyone in the whole community knows, wow, fuel's really, obviously there's no demand,
yes.
right? You're going to be like, okay, it's down that lower end of the market. I'm going to start buying things up. That'll get a bit of buy pressure. Now, you probably think, okay, land, but then all these land people, they want to sell their fuel and they've got no one to sell it to. That's the idea of the world, right? Supply and demand. When there's no milk in the fridge, when there's no chicken in the supermarkets, whatever it may be, if there's not enough demand, they just sit there, they wait, or they get thrown out. So the fuel people, whether it's an order book, it can just stack up because you're you're a land person. That's what you deal with. You're like, well, shit, no one's buying my fuel. I know this. I better get my friends into Illuvium so they start buying it or whatever it may be. It is a supply and demand issue. And as a landholder, you can understand going, well, there's just not enough demand there. My sell orders are in. I just have to wait. I have to be patient. That's my opinion on it. If you don't have the bottom rails and free market, then it gets a bit crazy because then you can devalue alluvials and then people get angry and upset.
I would say that the floor price actually protects landholders.
So simple. It has to be simple, not complicated. Top, bottom. People know the bottom is. People know where the top is. Oh, I'm going to pay a premium. Oh, I get a little bit of a discount. Sit in there. Landholders, you're fueling the economy. The idea is in time, more players will hopefully come in, and that's why you're backing it. This is what makes sense to me. Landholders are being screwed over in a way and not screwed over in the next way, and it's been like this constantly through the last 3 years or whatever it may be. I think the idea of cutting 75% out of nowhere makes no sense to me because the landholders have every right to be upset. And at the same time, doing such a drastic change, it's just, you don't do that. Like you'll never see an economist or someone from Australia or America go, let's cut rates by 55%. It just doesn't happen like that. It's always like 0.5%, 1% or whatever it may be.
1% a stretch as well.
I know, but I know,
I
know it's new. There's so many things to debate, and like no one's ever done this before in a game, and Illuvium's the first of its kind. Cool, we totally understand that. I just think, in summary, let's simplify everything for fuck's sake. Let's put some rails in that make sense. Look at the data if there is something that I'm missing, and supply and demand will sort itself out. And if there isn't, there should be an order book or something like that. Everyone's happy. The NFTs hold their price.
Yes.
Done.
The final thing on this is, for anyone, Scarlett, you said that actually screws the landholders. I disagree. A floor price is there to protect the landholders. But yeah, go. Rebut.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's really simple. If you have a bottom price, right? Let's say it's at 50 cents, like we were saying before.
Yeah.
And you have, I'm trying to think of a good example of the way I can do the numbers. And you have people buying $100 every single day worth of fuel. They're buying $100 worth. but because of the bottom price, it's set at how much fuel can be sold. And so since you can never go below that, say you have $5,000 worth of fuel that's to be sold onto the market, it will go $4,900 of that dollars will never ever be met. And so $4,900 worth of landowners won't be able to sell at all.
What do you
and
mean
they'll
by
make zero
never
money.
met? What do you mean by that?
Well, there's only $100 in demand. And since price can't go below that, landowners can't beat that either. And so it's always just $4,900. If there's 5,000 in selling, then 4,900 of that will never ever get sold. And so
no, not true.
Most
Because
landowners,
they're just going to wait for someone to come in and buy, right? Like it's like picture like
it's an order book. It's an order book.
Yeah. So picture TSG selling $100, then Philip from America selling another $100. They all sit at the same era, but whoever put their order in first gets sold first.
It just
so
starts ticking it off.
It'll buy up the orders.
Yeah, but you might, because if there's a mismatch in supply and demand, like there is right now, then you would find, especially on tier 1s and tier 2 plots, they might not be able to sell for 30 or 40 days. That's how much the mismatch could be if you have a lower rail. That's what I'm saying.
But that's the idea of an economy. Like you bought the tier 1, it's a lot cheaper than someone spending 10 grand as a tier 4.
That's
they
the
probably
benefit.
have more fuel to sell. And everyone should wait their turn. Like, I don't see a downside to that. And then on top of this, right, we spoke about it earlier. Scoriox had a great idea, as far as I'm aware. Change the whole system. Like, change the numbers. So if I produce 100 Solon on my land on a tier 1 or 4, it doesn't matter, I should get 100 Solon in Illuvium, overworld, right? So whether we do the idea of take 5% to the DAO or however that works, don't do this 19-1 or don't do this other bullshit, in my opinion. I think you should just do it. Hey, I had 100 fuel in the land. I now have 100 in the overworld. It shouldn't be converted and I get this and that and bonuses. I think it should be simplified on that, but maybe other people do.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the 19-1. I don't know that shit. But in terms of the fuel floor and ceiling, that seems very obvious to me. And again, I'm not an economist. I'm not an economist. I might be wrong, but it seems to be the
because it holds
choice.
The NFTs prices as well, and it holds the economy in that range where it could be. Instead of like all of a sudden 75% of the fuel people on the land now have 75% less money made or whatever it may be, right? You'd just be like, what in the F? Like, you'd be so upset. And they have every right to be. Imagine someone coming over and just cutting something out that you always got. Doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, you might as well not even have a free market economy at that point anyways, because then you're just setting the price at that lower rail.
Yeah, put the rails in. Let's go.
Then you might as well not do the free market at all, to be honest.
Yeah,
well, no, then
you just set the prices for...
Because you need an economy, right? You need to set everything in between something for NFTs. Again, there could be some more stuff.
That's not an economy. It'll sit at one of the rails.
It's the same thing, and maybe it's a bad example, but I mean, with what we have in Australia and stuff, that we have like parameters for what we want inflation to be, right? Yeah. We have percentages. Like, they're not hard rails of, okay, we can't go over this, we can't go over that. But in our minds, we're like, okay, this is, we don't want to go below this, we don't want to go above this, and we play between that. I don't see why that destroys. It's not a complete free market, 100%, but there is a market there, which is, I think, achieves the goal.
Who cares if it isn't a free market? Just that's what makes sense, in my opinion. That it sits between that. Your NFTs hold value. It's sure, like say squizzes go down to $1, right? You know, most people won't go below that. But if someone wants to do it as a loss, they might sell for 80 cents or something like that. And then that's their own purpose because they want to sell it for a loss because they don't make as much money or whatever. It just makes so much sense to simplify it and do the rails. I don't see a good argument yet. And maybe there is and we're missing something. I do not see a good, strong argument other than it should be a free market or whatever. But who gives a shit? Like, let's put the rails in, get our NFTs and where they should be roughly sitting from runs and everything else, and people can sell and buy whatever, and that economy will thrive.
It stabilizes the economy. It gives it room to fluctuate, but it stabilizes the economy. Which, as a game, bro, we're not trying to create a new country here. I think a stable but fluctuating economy makes sense.
I should mention that it's almost like a triangle of prices, right? And so with your system with the lower rail, you might hold up the alluvial economy where alluvials are at like a minimum price because the price can't really go below that for travel. But what you then do is, because land isn't as profitable because it's harder to sell, there aren't supplies not meeting demand and things like that, that you'll actually find the land NFTs reduce in price until they make sense to buy. And so it's just 3 different assets that are increasing or decreasing based on these systems. And so in your case, the land would decrease in value very, very quickly. If there's no lower barrier, then alluvials would decrease in value very, very quickly. And if it's not a free market at all, probably land would decrease. I haven't thought about that one yet,
Cool.
but yeah.
Let me
But there's
ask
a
you this.
limited
I
amount of
already
land.
know what. Sorry, I already know what Sam's going to say, but I'll throw it to you anyway. But Scoriox, I'll ask it to you. Which one of those assets is more important to hold its value, land or alluvials?
I don't think anyone should be determining any value. Make full free market.
No, but I mean,
I'll answer for him. Alluvials.
it's alluvials.
Yeah, I would say alluvials personally.
But that's what I'm. So then that's the direction that we should be moving towards.
The options we have
But
on
you
the
could
table.
you could also say the DAO has a responsibility to landowners.
No,
to
we
a
don't.
great extent.
No, we absolutely do. We absolutely do. But the thing is, if we focus on ensuring that stability and that value of the alluvial NFTs, in the long run, the landowners will get what they need. It will happen. It becomes secondary. It's not primary. And the issue is right now, I think the loud voices are trying to make us look at it as a primary thing, which isn't. The alluvials are primary. If we focus on that, landholders will get what they deserve, what they want. It just takes a bit of time.
Yeah, let's play that out, right? So there's only 20,000 plots, X amount are being played. What's going to happen over time? More players are going to come in, more money is going to be spent. So there's no way fuel will over time, probably more than likely, if it's done right in the marketing and everything, will go up in value, or like they will get their sell orders in, right? They will buy off the landholders. And now with land prices, it doesn't matter because that's what has to stabilize the economy. Everyone knows I'm buying this land. This is what runs the economy over time when there's more games and everything else. It'll stabilize. I just simplify everything. Jesus.
Yeah. And sorry, I want to address Nick. He kind of mentioned this before. Incentives are out of whack. The team should focus on incrementally adding features. I don't know if you've just joined the conversation, Nick, but that is absolutely happening. That is the focus. So no need to worry about that.
I accidentally added our name tags. I don't know how to remove it.
That's completely fine, man. We can't even see Sam saying. What is your name, by the way?
Scoriox.
I'll figure this out eventually. Okay. All right, so let's move on from that one. All right, so next up, we've got the two community discussions. We've almost talked this to death now, so we won't go too crazy into these discussions anymore. But the first one is that Philo says the fuel exchange UI is unacceptable. I think he's mostly referring to the selling side of things here. And they need to throw away the bonus system designed by Venomore and implement a simple order book where everyone can see the current bids and asks. There is an order book, but as he said, it's not particularly visible. I think this is a no-brainer. It needs to be obvious and visible. I don't know if this necessarily needs to be voted on. Obviously, the team's already working on fixing a lot of this. But yeah, it really needs to be added like yesterday. So I'm looking forward to this one. So the next one is what we talked about briefly before, is modifying the 1-to-20 fuel exchange ratio to 1-to-1. Basically, right now, if you sell one Solon, someone has to buy 20 Solon on the other end for you to actually sell your Solon to the market. I think what this suggests is when you sell one Solon, someone buys one Solon on the other end, and then the DAO basically takes a 5% tax afterwards.
So much yes for this. Like the biggest yes I could ever think of in my life. Over my marriage proposal, if I ever get one. Yes.
If I get one, aren't you meant to give one?
The biggest advantage to this overall would be that you don't need to balance Illuvium Zero super weirdly anymore. One of the biggest problems with this reduction is actually that tier 1 and tier 2 lands are really fucking hard to play right now. Because they just don't produce enough fuel to upgrade your buildings and stuff like that. And no amount of balancing is really going to fix that because of rounding errors. Anyways, this would fix that instantly as one byproduct at least.
That would, but also you also want tier 1s to be enjoyable to play. So whether they have to fix that as well, because if I pay $500, $300, whatever the floor price is, and buy a tier 1, the Illuvium Labs needs to make sure that if I buy a tier 1, it's not a stupid, annoying, grindy game, but I actually enjoy the whole process. There's many ways you can do this with balancing. I'm sure they're all smart enough in the team of how to do this, but you cannot make it a terrible experience. So they need to balance that for tier 1s especially, right?
By the way, the guy at the bottom is so right. Yo, Sam, you're making a lot of friends today, man.
What? I haven't got chat.
Oh, you haven't got chat?
I put it to the side. I don't care.
Right.
You won't let it influence my.
Right,
What they
right,
say?
right. No, a lot of people are agreeing with you.
Well, yeah, because I'm right. I'm always right. It's like it's just.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm being a bit facetious, but it's just everything needs to be simplified. Like,
Yeah.
let's not reinvent the wheel here. Let's do the easy. Philo, like, I disagree with some of the things Philo says in Discord sometimes, and I think it's wrong. But in regards to this proposal, this needs to go through yesterday.
IMC.
As I said, I think they're waiting for the new IMC.
No, get this IMC to do it. Why are we waiting? We're wasting time. There's 24 hours in a day. Let's do it now.
Because they've tried this sort of stuff with the current IMC and it's been rejected.
Who's in the current
very
IMC?
often.
Go to their house. Like,
And
come on. It's so obvious to do this.
People have the sentiment that the current IMC would not approve it based on their past.
Well, $5,000.
Notes.
Put me in it. $5,000. I'll tell you what.
You should have nominated yourself. Okay.
$5,000 is wild.
But like, just put this through. Who's on this IMC? Yell at them. I'll yell at them. Next.
All right. So now we get to the community content portion of the episode. We're going to go through this pretty quickly. Firstly, Gizmo Slitbog caught a dark hollow now, or they fused a dark hollow now. Very, very cool. Stats not even that bad. Like, big health and omega, not too terrible. But yeah, it looks stunning.
Gizmo's been catching some killers out here, man. He's been smashing the game out.
Oh yeah, he's been nailing it. The other one is Zalith actually found an Octius in the wild, went and caught them, which is absolutely sick. This I do want to say something actually. These sort of posts has what's made me want to play the game even more. Seeing this has been like, shit, you can find, because I never saw these sorts of posts before. No one ever found like a stage 2 tier 5. That was like insanely rare. And I'm seeing this sort of stuff crop up here and there. And I'm like,
that was part of the change. We didn't discuss it today, but yeah, there was a change where it is a lot easier to find higher level, higher tier alluvials out. So even tier 1 runs, you're actually seeing a lot more cool shit.
Yeah, and people are saying that it's rare for them, but they're saying that even like in a tier 1 run, they're finding like an Axodon and stuff like that. And this sort of stuff has made me jump in. Yesterday, I caught a Slashin in a run, in a stage 3 run. And today, in a stage 2 run, I caught a Vermilier. And so I'm absolutely loving it. I'm even doing more on the scanning thing because I don't have a whole lot of time to play. So I'll do the scan on like a stage 2 run and find some really cool stuff. So this has been absolutely sick. All right.
I think the most recent update that they did with this, I've been saying this since I played Overworld, that it's always the same alluvials all the time. It gets very boring, and this should have been implemented back then, in my opinion. I think it's a great update. It's what's needed. And for everyone in Discord and everyone saying, but now it devalues this, or we work so hard for this. And this is what happens when you're early in something. It's part of the game. It's like getting in Bitcoin in 2011 or 12. So just deal with it. Know it's better for the game the way it is now, the way you can see stage 3s more, stage 2s more, in even stage 1 runs. It is really, really good. This is one of a positive update that I like to see.
Surf got a hollow Ophisto tonight.
Yeah, see, that's cool, right? Like,
it's
even
cool shit.
Stage 1 or stage 3, like, it's really well done. This is needed for a better experience. The
best part about all this, and this is something that although we always talked about it, I didn't expect it to this extent, is all the people in the community are hunting for high stat alluvials, which means that these sorts of changes don't really negatively impact the economy. Like, because like if everyone catches an Ophisto, then who's selling an Ophisto? Because people are trying to catch 20 Ophistos because they want to get one with good stats. And so the game is like in the best state it's ever been in terms of excitement and enjoyment when actually playing. And it's super, super hype. And honestly, the only thing that would make it better is if fuel output wasn't reduced 4 times so that fuel prices still had some room to drop, because now they're a little bit more expensive than they really should be. But yeah, so quite interesting.
I'm going to predict the future here. I hope you're ready. When the reroll feature comes in, because it will come in, and then people can change their stats and everything else, everyone's going to complain, blah, 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 because the stats will be easier to reroll, but it's a needed feature. Just know if you're buying alluvials, in my opinion, that I can't believe I've said it all the time, is that when stat reroll comes in, that you'll be able to change the stats of your alluvials and at some sort of cost. And so just be prepared for these moments in the future because we are early.
Okay. So the next one I've got here is really, really great. The Gamescom booth at Illuvium, for Illuvium, it is the Samsung booth, I believe, and while the world is on one side, Illuvium's on the other side. Samsung's got some stuff in the middle, I think. It looks fantastic. We love to see that we're at the event. We also love to see that we're there with Samsung. Like, that's going to give us some sort of credibility, right? Like, people that have never seen Illuvium before are like, oh, they're partnered with Samsung. That's interesting.
We didn't pay for this, did we?
I have no idea. I doubt it.
I can't speak too much on it, but I wouldn't worry. It's nothing to put any thought into.
I mean, it looks great.
Yeah.
It's a very
it looks good.
Popular, not festival. What do you call it? Like a convention?
Yeah, like millions of people go through it, I think.
How do we get on the main stage of that? Like next year would be perfect because that's when Illuvium would be ready. But is it hard to get on the main stage of that and where you announce the game and everything else? I saw, I'd put $1 million into this though, to be fair, because I saw Asmongold back to a bunch of this sort of stuff. And if Illuvium was on the main stage, whatever the cost is would make sense. Not this year, it would be next year.
Yeah. Have you watched? The issue is though, a lot of the guys, and maybe it's the people that I watch, but right now, a lot of the guys that I'm watching are actually put off what they see with Gamescom, like all the showcases and things, because they understand that it's not about new games anymore. It's whoever pays the most. So it's like the reactions are very tainted, and it's not whoa, cool, this is coming. It's very rare. For me personally, the guys that I see, it might be really good for brand awareness, but I'm not sure what the sentiment is going to be like. We just need, I'm looking at it holistically. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying these are things that we need to consider when it comes to that.
This is what I would do. Next year, I would pay, if it's $1 million, whatever it may be, I would pay that $1 million, put us on the big screen, and I would do the most outrageous marketing thing where everyone talks about it, whether you talk about fuel prices, NFTs, whatever it may be, depending on the way the world is situated with how everyone feels about the NFT situation. But I would put it on the main stage and see what reaction you get, because you'll get people covering it, you get people reacting to it. What the hell is this game? They're doing this. This is new. Like, no one has, you don't have to do microtransactions to travel in any game. And if that was at the forefront, people would talk about it, whether it's negative or positive. People will come over. If you look recently at, I think it was John or some other guy who covered us like on that negative NFT YouTube channel recently, it still got eyeballs to us and got players over. So I think it would be a really smart marketing idea and worth the money.
Yeah.
So I won't lie. I was messaging someone on the side. I didn't listen to anything.
What team am I with here? What is this? Is this me? Come on,
at least I'm honest, bro. I'm dealing with something on the side. I apologize.
Might as well be here by myself.
All I heard was something about that Juan guy. So yeah.
What's the point? Why am
I apologize.
All right. So the next one we've got is we got Paz released a really great video. Illuvium needs to implement these things, and he talked about a bunch of the stuff that can improve Illuvium. And that's kind of where I started to get this title from. Is a lot of the creators, especially the core creators, are talking a lot more in their videos and things like that about the ways we want to see Illuvium evolve and adapt and stuff like that. And it's not even negative. It's somewhat critical in some ways, sure, but it's actually very positive that we all want to see this thing grow and improve, and we'd love to see it. And
way easier by having a lot more players and their...
I'll put this out very quickly. It's not confirmed, but I'm currently trying to push for some of the influencers, obviously, that we have good relations with, to get an internal build so they can actually test things out before they come out to the public, provide that feedback. I think that's, now that the game is live, I think that's something that we need to do. But I'm just putting it out there. That's something that I'm working on behind the scenes as well. So or both of you guys, obviously, Paz will be included in that. But yeah, I think you're right. I think having the community members, and I say community members because creators are community members, but people like you guys that provide value to the community, your insights will be valuable. And obviously, not all of you guys are going to agree with each other, which I think is valuable in itself.
I would be so vocal.
Yeah, great. We need that.
And so the last one I have is a video everyone's familiar with by now, with 432,000 views by our best friend in the Illuvium community, JAUWN, John. He made a fantastic video that people absolutely love. It's a mixed sentiment in the Discord. We all know he's just like a big NFT hater. He didn't really make a solid effort to actually play the game in any way. People said that they destroyed him in Gauntlet. That was really funny. And he even pulled out some Discord messages. I don't know how that relates to a game being good or bad, but very, very funny. He pulled out some messages from Crystal, which is like it's like finding like an unhinged, like the most unhinged community member that you have, or like the most random one, that's like off topic half the time, and then taking what they say as like sentiment of the community is quite funny to me. But I love it. And so
can I just say that I watched the whole video. It's very accurate what he said, if I'm honest with you. Like straight down the line, what he says with like the onboarding process, the payment process, the money, the whole loop and everything. Yes, he does it in a negative way. That's his branding. But obviously, most of the things that he said in the whole video is all being worked on right now by the team. So I think the video is fine for us as exposure, I guess. But from what I saw, I think it was very accurate and in his negative light. Even if that does hurt some people in the community, I think it was done well, because most of the problems we're all aware of, as the team would know, and they're fixing most of those problems. So
there were some obviously biases that he had that were very, very obvious, and some things I think were
he's
unwarranted
uneducated in some areas as well. Like he was.
Yeah,
I agree with that. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I do think that I will be completely fair here. Most of the feedback and criticism is fair. Like he was actually, I would say that this video was much more thoughtful than the first one that he did.
I would love to see him do it in a year, because I think I've always said like a year from launch, I think that's when Illuvium will, like 9 months to a year, I told myself that's when Illuvium will really start taking market share of these things. That was always my opinion. So I would love to see him redo it in a year's time, roughly.
100%. I think a lot of the things one of the things that I am happy about is I saw a lot of the points that he brought up we're addressing. We're aware of it. We're addressing it. It's not even like, oh shit, this is new to us. We didn't know this. It's all stuff that's actively being worked on. So it's very much, yes, it's a hit piece of where we are currently, which, I mean, makes sense. We went live. Completely fine to have that point of view. But it's not, I don't think it's necessarily fair to say that this is where we're going to be forever. I think that's, or we're doomed to fail. I think that's just a ridiculous kind of point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And so one last thing I've got for you guys, one last major thing is the tip of the week. If you guys don't like this, let me know in the chat. I don't know if you guys find this stuff helpful, but here's my tip of the week. So,
sorry. I'm so sorry about this. One fun fact about that Juan video, whatever his name is, was the day that it came out, we did actually see a spike in players for the next 2 days. So, yeah.
See, all marketing is good marketing.
Yeah.
All right,
I thought it was funny. But yes, tip of the week, please.
I mentioned that on Twitter.
Scoriox.
So, especially if you're new to the game, I actually recommend going into a stage 1 run of each region, doing a full reveal of the region, and then go to every single alluvial spawn, especially on Brightland Steps and Abyssal Basin. Some of the alluvials spawn in some really kind of places that are like off the beaten path, places you wouldn't expect to look when you're initially playing. And by going to these places in a stage 1 run, when you do your stage 2 and your stage 3 run without the full reveal, you can make sure to check those places when you're looking for alluvials, because I tend to find they have some of the really rare stuff in there. So highly recommend doing that.
Yeah, where are you getting these tips from, man?
Pardon?
Great tip of the week.
Where are you getting these tips from? You're just like, oh man, I just got something new this week.
Yeah, I just came up with something.
Yeah, fair play.
I have a Q&A. I have a question.
Wait, we got one from the community first.
So you have a queue.
Reem wants to know if we can go over which alluvials we still want to capture.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, all of them. I mean, I've got some. I haven't had too much time to play, but I really want to get it now. I want to get hollows. I know I was playing with Sam when we first launched, and I was just going for hollows. He was like, bro, what are you doing? And I was like, I just want the hollows. I want a collection of hollows and dark hollows. I don't really care too much about the stats. I will get probably good stats when Leviathan Gauntlet comes out and I'm incentivized to do so. But until then, it's just hollows and dark hollows.
Yeah. I still haven't played from launch. I played for the first 3 days and then I haven't played since, just due to the fact that there's no loop right now still for me. I'm wanting alluvial combat and all these other things to happen. But I'm glad that the Illuvium economy is still going. Like, we're still doing 4 ETH a day, roughly. I look at somewhere to 6, somewhere to 8 sometimes, but more so around that 4 or 5 mark. I look on the wallet every day when I wake up in the morning. And I guess people are still capturing them. I don't really mind what I capture right now. Once they have, if you want to call it the alluvial decks
Alluviary, whatever it is.
The repository.
The deposit, okay. You'll figure when that is live, you'll notice a lot more people will buy stuff or capture stuff because there's an enjoyment or fulfillment of endorphins when you fill out something as well.
Yeah, we really
do.
That's really cool.
Will you, Sam, will you jump back into, I know you're not the biggest arena player, but will you jump back into it once Leviathan Gauntlet comes out? Whether it's playing Gauntlet or hunting for good stats to sell on the marketplace, would that be enough to incentivize you?
I think once there's a loop, even with a Leviathan Gauntlet, I will play, but only for a little bit, and then I'll probably die out after a week or two because it doesn't tickle my fancy, to be fair with you.
Yeah. So for you need the loop in.
I need the loop in
Overworld.
I need questing. I need the World of Warcraft experience. I need to hang out with my friends in Sanctum Mesa. For goodness sake. That's what it gets me excited. The social element, the people showing off their dark hollows, talking crap and everything else. And I think once those things are in, which they're coming, I'm just being very patient. And that's what you'll see a lot of people come in, I think, once all these
multiplayer in Sanctum Mesa. That's like, I think that it's not going to do too much in terms of, but we can't go into runs with each other. Yeah, I get it. But what it does is it shows you the vision. It shows you the vision of what we can get to. Just give us some time, right? Like, let's test out the multiplayer. Let's test out the showing off of skins and your drone and your emotes and your hollows, dark hollows. Do that and show off. Go into battles with each other, challenge each other. And then once you kind of see that happening,
you watch when I hope, I mean, I don't know, but if they do Sanctum Mesa multiplayer where you can see 10 people, 100 people, doesn't really matter to me, and they can show off their hollows and everything else, and you can battle them or whatever, however it will work, I'm not sure. But once that's implemented, you put that on Twitter, make sure the Illuvium account puts that up first, please, not me or anyone else. Get the vibe off there and everyone shares that. You will see so many people from other Web3 games wanting to play them because they don't just see it as an auto battle. They can actually hang out with their friends. And I think that will give you a bit of a spike in players, and the amount of engagement you will get on the social media, if it's done correctly, will be phenomenal. So I think
100% agree.
I really, really am looking forward to that.
Me too. 100% agree.
The alluvial I want to add to my collection is phosphorus.
Everyone goes, oh, I can
we just fucking left him out. He said the alluvial he wants is phosphorus. Bro, we're done.
Oh, yeah, we skipped.
Passed that.
I have a question. Now, 2 Qs.
Yeah, okay, 2 Qs.
Q1. Do you think all of the problems would go away if the Illuvium price and all of the crypto prices, as an example, say ILV was $500? Do you honestly think people would complain as much as they would because of money?
It wouldn't go away, but it wouldn't be as much as it's obviously people are hurting, which is why there's more time to complain.
Isn't that fascinating?
Very.
Unless we went to 10,000 and then came down to 500.
No, but I mean, like, if the price was $500, most people in here, or even $1,000, most people in here would be in the net positive, you would think, right? Thereabouts. I would find that a lot of people are like, yeah, we got the game of the year, like the way it is now. But because prices are so low, and for obvious reasons, I find that people emotions and everything get really stuck in there. Like, this game's really bad. When it's the foundation is phenomenal. The work, the everything. Like, I can see the vision. I'm waiting for the vision, but it's not there. But I find it interesting that people go, oh, if it was $500, they wouldn't complain as much.
Well, it's a little bit different. People are scared right now because there's all that discussion about runway and things like that constantly. Besides all the people being a net positive or whatever, if the price was at 500, the Illuvium DAO would have significantly more options in terms of extending runway. And so just times wouldn't be nearly as scary, generally speaking.
How much runway was that high? How much people do you reckon if it was 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year, how much would people want to see for them to be like, oh, the project's in good hands?
You know what's crazy?
24 months.
So 2 years.
Yeah. what I think is crazy is 10 years sounds great, but I don't know if we were talking about this during the stream or maybe prior to, but let's say that we did get 10-year runway or 5 years run. 5 years may be different, but let's say we had 10 years runway. I'd actually be wary of that because we know what happens when a startup has too much funding. So it needs to be kind of that middle ground where it's like, all right, you guys are safe, but you guys better get your shit done. Like it needs to be that balance, right? So yeah,
I think 10 years is too much as well.
Yeah.
I think to sit on that much cash would be silly. I think somewhere between that 3 to 5 years would be really good.
I agree.
And in regards to what you said with a lot of teams getting too much funding and then they just get lazy, I am an investor in Immutable X, just to be very frank. I got in super low, but what is going on over there? I love what Robbie's doing. The way he speaks and the way he presents himself. He's just disappeared from Twitter. He barely posts on YouTube anymore. No offense, but the chain's breaking. I would love to discuss what's going on at Immutable. Like I know some people there, and I love Immutable. You have no idea how much I love what they're doing. But something's going on that, like, I don't know if they're just relaxed or there is problems or it's difficulty on the back end. Immutable really needs to figure their shit out because it's affecting Illuvium. And in my opinion, Illuvium is the flagship game for Immutable. And if Illuvium wins, Immutable wins. No offense to all the other 99% of the projects are going to die in Web3, in crypto. 99% are going to die, go to nothing, and go to zero. I see Illuvium as the pinnacle point of what a game should be because you need to be better than Web2 graphically. You need to do everything better. Look at from a Tesla electric car to a petrol car. In safety, in the way it's designed and cheaper and everything they beat in a normal petrol car. Illuvium is trying to do the same thing from a Web2 game. And if Immutable's holding back, or I don't understand blockchain as much as a dev would, I just want to know what's going on over there. Does anyone have any insights?
So
we're stopping chains, and I wish Illuvium had its own chain, but then that costs more money and more resources.
So the short answer is Immutable created Immutable ZK EVM. And when they did that, they pretty much abandoned Immutable X.
Which is what we're on right now.
Which is what we're on at the moment. Not necessarily a bad call. Immutable X was extremely limited. You pretty much couldn't build smart contracts and things like that. Immutable ZK EVM is much closer to a genuine layer 2. We have a lot of control and all the rest of it. Unironically, they ditched both their flagship games, Gods Unchained, which they actually own, and Illuvium, which are both stuck on Immutable X. And they don't seem to have built a whole lot of ways to migrate, which is weird. Like, I don't know what their whole back end thing is with migrating, if they have systems in place for that. But as far as I can tell, you can't actually move tokens between X and ZK EVM at all. And so I imagine migrating between the two is surprisingly difficult as well. And so that's the mess that Illuvium is somewhat in right now.
Am I the only person in the world here that just thinks, why is everyone doing things so effing complicated? It doesn't make any sense. Like, if you run a company or a business, you just think of the user. Nothing else matters. Just think of the user, how to get them and have their best experience possible. It just should be limitless of how that should be done. Now, I don't understand, again, blockchain fully in depth like a dev. But if you're doing ZK EVM roll-up, and that's how you want to do it, and that's more of a layer 2 and you have more control, how do we get Illuvium on ZK EVM then? Who has to do that? Do we have to do that in-house as Illuvium and spend the resources on that?
We would need to collaborate with IMX, but yeah, it'd be a team effort.
It would be Immutable's best interest to spend money on this to help Illuvium come over and spend a lot of their resources, in my opinion. They have $4 billion in funding plus 5 years runway to bring Illuvium over to Immutable ZK EVM. If that's the right move, why would you not do that? Why?
One of the downsides for Illuvium is you actually need to pay gas fees and IMX, which might actually complicate it for users to a certain extent. The other thing is Immutable ZK EVM is okay once you're on there. Getting on there is even worse than getting onto IMX, but they're both pretty bad, to be honest.
So I'm just spitballing here. Sorry, TSJ. If we had our own chain, like I'm just spitballing, guys. If we had our own chain, that would be so much better, right? By a substantial amount because we're in control of it.
In an ideal world, yes.
Yeah, a lot of the problems we talk about on these shows, I feel like Pirate Nation fixed a lot of them. I bring them up because they have their own chain and the amount of control it gives them. allows them so much freedom in how they want to approach things. For example, we would be able to do NFTs that you can't trade, which would fix half of our
we need our own chain. We need our own chain.
So
my IP today.
Yeah, but that takes a lot. That takes just as long to build as a game.
Can we not fork something?
That would take a shit ton of time.
Real quick,
do it right. Because if it has an exploit, you're fucked.
ZK EVM is gas free for gamers. Not always. It's limited.
But Illuvium would have to pay. I think, I'm genuinely. This doesn't happen today, but maybe next year. I would love. I love IMX, guys. Don't get me wrong, but I would love to see Illuvium have its own chain so we have control, because that's what makes sense to the 3 to 5 year future.
Yeah, there are 2 things that I'll mention about this. I'm not going to discuss anything about IMX or anything like that. The 2 things to consider is, one, what Scoriox brought up being 3 things. 2, yeah. So the one thing being gas fees, the other being batch transfers. So right now on StockX, we are able to batch transfer, which is why you're not getting transactions up every single action that you're taking.
Mm-hmm.
ZK EVM, as far as I'm aware, doesn't have that ability as of yet. So those are the 2 things that I think are going to be important to understand onto where we go and why we do that, is what gas fees are going to look like, and if we're able to batch transfer. Because if you're going to shoot an alluvial and capture it, you don't want a transaction every 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Like, that's just ridiculous. So they're the 2 main things that I'd be considering in this conversation.
Yeah, ultimately we need to migrate to ZK EVM at some point, but maybe it's a bit young to even do it now. All I know is we're kind of in this awkward middle state where we kind of need to migrate, but it's not the best time to migrate, and ZK EVM is not quite ready anyways, and it's just kind of like that. So in about a year or so, hopefully, at the very least, there'll be more tools to migrate. Immutable X might actually make it really easy to do it if they haven't abandoned IMX completely. Fingers crossed that they care enough about Gods Unchained to actually facilitate some of this stuff, but I don't know what's happened there.
Gods Unchained, I don't know if you guys have seen this. I've been looking at Immutable X, Mutascan, sorry, pretty recently. The trade volume on Gods Unchained is still pretty high.
Yeah, it's all wash trading.
Is it actually?
Yeah, has been for a long time.
Same with the numbers on Passport. They say they got 2 or 3 million passport holders and whatever. That's a lot of bots and everything else, in my opinion, because it doesn't make sense. Otherwise, Illuvium would have a lot more players.
No, but they've got a lot of Passport mobile games, so not necessarily.
That's true as well. I don't know. I always just think of the user for everything. I don't care about back-end nothing. Eventually, it doesn't matter what chain you'll be on, I'm hoping. But it just should be the best experience possible for the user. That's all that matters. That's the only thing that matters. And right now, I saw Immutable have some problems. Went down for 12 hours or 24 hours or something, and everything got was waiting. Either Immutable needs to fix and do their best they can to play catch up, or we need to move chains.
Interesting, man. This has been an interesting conversation.
Yes, very vocal today.
We need more like this to be. We need more like this, to be honest, where we're all kind of going at it.
It's the new format. I've nailed it. Yeah. Okay.
By the way, I would love to see chat on screen or something. If you can put them on the screen, and people will talk as well, and also I can see
the problem is we can on Restream, but they make it so big, and I can't control its size or anything.
Can you not? Jesus, can you not do it on OBS or something?
That's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, I could, but we'd have to do Video Ninja instead of Restream and stuff.
Also, sorry, back to just to jump in. I think the reason why this chain thing could be a problem is because also runway. We all know we have about 12 months runway, and longer we wait and the time, and then it sort of gets a bit more scarier. I assume Kieran will look at doing a raise towards the end of the year or maybe next year, and maybe that will put things at ease depending on price and everything else. Again, Bitcoin will be nearly 100,000 by the end of September. Remember that. And yeah.
I need to just write that shit down and see, we'll see how close you are.
It'll be 100K by the end of September.
It'll be close. Worst case, October, but I'm hoping close to 100K.
You can't extend it by twice the amount of time as a worst case.
September. We'll try. We'll give it a crack. Come on.
I mean, he's putting it out there. I mean, rate cuts coming in, 2 weeks or so?
Yeah. So this is how I see the economy, just real quick, with Trump and Kamala Harris. Kamala.
I like that. Chameleon Harris.
If Trump wins, right? If Trump wins, then the people behind closed doors will try to, I don't want to get too political, will try and destroy the economy in about 6 months to 12 months after that moment and make sure everything dumps, which I believe will happen. Or if Kamala Harris wins, I believe that she will turn on the money printer and everything else and screw the economy herself, and then that'll happen in 6 to 12 months as well. I still see a bull market, and then everything is screwed by end of 2025, give or take. So that's still my thesis, and has been my thesis for over 2 years now. We have to wait for the elections in November. That affects Illuvium due to prices and everything else. Remember, I've been in crypto 8 years. It is very manipulated. Just close your eyes if you're invested. Remember, not financial advice. But you'll notice when bad news comes out to the media at perfect timing, you'll notice prices do its own little thing due to market makers. It is very, very, very manipulated. So trust me. No, I won't say that. But
wait,
yes.
So you're saying that the crypto markets aren't a free market?
No, it's so manipulated. Remember, rich get richer, poor get poorer. Just so
always.
And by the way, Solana, I bought Solana at 80 cents. Just so you know.
Nice.
I bought it at
that
10
was one.
cents,
I slept on that. I
sold it on like 30 cents.
I remember when no one was talking about it. I remember this. It was a good time.
Yeah, crazy. I was in my emotions about the Illuvium Star Atlas thing, and I was like, no chance. Solana, FTX, no chance.
By the way, I've spoken to many crypto people over the last 3 days, and all the money is flowing into meme coins from all the meetings I'm having with these investors and VCs and everything else. So they want to make money. So they're looking at a lot of meme coin stuff. So that's probably why you're not seeing gaming take off. Once we see probably a bit more time go by and some better products, I believe AI, real world assets, gaming should start moving. Fingers crossed.
That's a sentence I never thought I'd hear. VCs and meme coins. It's the same sentence. Never thought I'd hear that shit.
Literally, that's where they want to put their money.
What do you think makes him go up, TSG?
It's all. I know people who create meme coins, and I've seen it on the back end. Remember, 98% of the money's made before they launch it. I hate meme coins with a passion.
Yeah.
And 98% of the money's made from the founders or the people that get in like with it before it even hits the market. And it's all like not illegal stuff, but it's designed.
It's not the cleanest.
It's designed for you to lose your money. Find a product that will last the test of time, hopefully 5-10 years. That's what will matter. You'll be the Amazon or the eBay. Sure, you'll have little pumps of meme coins or narratives that will last for a little bit of time. Everyone will get over it eventually because they've all lost enough money, and rich got richer and the thieves got richer as well. And then the real products will come through the other end. And that's why I invested in Illuvium, because I know, fingers crossed, if they head in the right direction and get market share, they have the right team, that's for sure. And that's what will matter at the end, when whoever's got the right product.
We should release a token called Love Island.
We should not do that ever.
Christ.
And Sam will shill it on day one.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I think this is where we start wrapping up. All
right. It's been a great chat. Anything else you guys want to say before we wrap it up?
Yeah.
You say it.
Use code Scoriox. Second of all, I would love the perfect send-off. Remember, don't hit end stream because then people don't see it. I've noticed that in previous streams where you say the thing. Do the thing. Do the thing.
do the thing.
And don't forget to use the referral code Scoriox, SCORIOX. Scoriox, you can chuck it into your profile settings on the Illuvidex. Also, don't forget that my code will expire after 30 days, after a month. And the launch was on the 25th of July. So please don't forget to double check if the code has expired. And with that, the download is complete.
Oh, I love it. Good job. Download is complete.
All right, I'm ending the stream now.